Hello everyone, Phoenix Feather here, and welcome back to another Farming Simulator 15 Let's Play and Let's Talk. I kind of skipped my mind there for a minute. So I knew sorry, my throat's been acting weird today. But I knew I said something about talking about friendships. But something else has been, I was talking about with the guys earlier, and it just been... it's been on my mind ever since, and I think I want to talk about it instead, and that's responsibilities. Most of my fan base is kids, and yes, you do have responsibilities, but not as much as adult responsibilities. And the sad part about it is we're not teaching the younger people how to be responsible for their actions, and it winds up festering adults that don't know how to be responsible for their actions. I have someone who at one point I called a friend that is super irresponsible with money, with his life, and okay then. Well, this isn't gonna pull that. I was hoping it wouldn't. But he's super irresponsible with money, his life and everything, and I don't like seeing that, and I don't want any parts of dealing with someone like that that's so irresponsible and still wants to skate by on life. That's not how I see things, and I don't want someone like that in my life. So I got to thinking about it, and it's sad that we teach kids that they don't have to be responsible for their actions, awarding them for doing absolutely nothing. Like, kids can sit there and literally do nothing and get a participation award, and it doesn't teach them responsibility. It doesn't teach them, well, I messed up something, we didn't win, so I got to improve on that, or I didn't study for my test, I failed it, but I got a B anyway, or I passed anyway, so I don't have to study anymore because I'm going to pass whether I study or not. That's just the type of society we're breeding right now, and it's sad. It really is. Did I not buy the little light duty Kenworth? Guess not. So let's buy it. It really is sad. When someone puts gaming over their own children, there is something that is really messed up about that. Never would I'd put that new release over buying my kid some new pants or new shoes or a new outfit. Never would I ever do that. And it's saddening to see the amount of people that actually think that's acceptable, because they weren't taught as children that there's consequences for your actions. You guys got to understand, and this is speaking to the younger crowd, when you do something and it has negative consequences, you're responsible for that. You caused it. It's not just oh man, I didn't study for that test, it's a fluke that I failed. I'll pass the next one without studying. No, you chose not to study, so you didn't know the material, so therefore you were responsible. You're responsible for studying, and you didn't, so you failed. 5. There we go. So I don't know. I felt like I need to touch on this topic. When you skate by in life, not taking responsibility for your actions, then you're going to end up you're literally going to end up sad and lonely and surrounded by whatever you made your poor choices on. I've seen it in a lot of friends, not just this particular person I'm talking about, because especially with guys, a woman don't want to be with someone who's irresponsible. That's a sad fact in life. You can ask anybody with that's ever, irresponsibly, there you go, dated someone, and they split often because you weren't responsible enough. And it comes into play even more when you have kids, or even marriage where you're sharing finances and stuff. It's or even moving in together, because then you share. If you're not responsible with your money, like if you put buying a game over paying your electric bill, well, you're an irresponsible person, and you're probably going to wind up single. If you put playing a game over top spending time with your kids, and your kids ends up getting injured, well, you're irresponsible. If you put going out and partying, this is a really thing that drives me nuts. When parents pawn their kids off on other relatives or babysitter so they can go out and party, that right there is the biggest irresponsible thing that I know of. Because you went out and you had kids, you want kids, now you don't want to take care of them, you don't want to take care of your responsibilities. It annoys the heck out of me, especially I'm a parent. Okay, this is something that bugs the living crap out of me when I see other parents doing it. You laid down and did the deed, now take care of the consequences. Which kids are not consequences. The consequences are having kids means you don't get to go out and party anymore. Your parties consist of birthday parties. You don't get to go out and do whatever you want. You got a kid at home that you need to think of. You need to be an adult, not that works. You need to be an adult, not still try to live up to your partying days. It's okay to want to go out and party and everything, have a good time with your life, but do that before you decide to settle down and have kids. That is a big piece of advice I could give to you guys. It's perfectly okay to want to go have some fun when you're young. By all means. And even after you have kids, it's okay to go out and have time to yourselves every now and then, but not every night, not every weekend. You got responsibilities. And the thing is, a lot of these people are pawning their kids off on their parents. Your parents have had their own kids. They don't want to be stuck with your kids every night of the week, especially when they're still working. Like someone I know, both their parents were still working, and on work nights they were dropping their kids off and they were going out and having party at the bar, while meanwhile the parent had to get up at 5-6 o'clock in the morning, and this person didn't come home till like 1. It's pretty ridiculous. If you're gonna take the step forward and have kids of your own, you need to be responsible for them. And that's everything in life. If you have a pet, if you want a pet, if you really want a dog, you need to learn to take responsibility for that dog. If that dog craps in the hallway, it's your job to clean it up. If your dog bites some little kid, you're responsible for any medical expenses that kid needs. If your dog kills another dog, you're responsible for that dog, taking care of that dog, taking care of that owner's expenses, everything. So if you go out drinking and decide to be dumb and step behind the wheel of a car and you end up hitting somebody, you're responsible for serving your time in jail, because 9% of the time that's what it'll lead to. It's really sad how kids are being brought up today that they're not responsible for their actions, because people just look away. And everybody, every walks of life are guilty of it because, well, I shouldn't say walks of life. Everywhere is responsible for it because teachers are teaching it in school that, hey, you sat there and did nothing, but hey, we'll give you this award because guess what? You're special. That's not how it works in the real world. Not by any means. And it drives me nuts. And I tell my kid all the time that you can't expect that in the real life because it's not going to happen. You know, someone's not going to come up to you and be like, hey, you're a bum and you don't work hard to get what you got, so here is a Lamborghini. You know, I wish that would happen. Hey, you want this Lambo? Heck yeah. Okay, here, it's yours. That will never happen. Never, ever happen. You know, I don't care. They're there. So, you know, guys, I'm lucky enough to have somewhat of a following that is raised with that mentality. There is a consequences for your actions. You know, luckily, I should say, I don't know how I want to word this. Most of the people that watch my stuff are from a certain way of life, which, like me, was taught when you do something dumb, there are consequences. You know, when you want to bring another life into the world, let it be a child or a pet of some sort, you're responsible. You know, I'm glad to have that part, but I also are seeing, you know, not everybody in this community is that way. There are a lot of people out there that are just kind of like do whatever they want and don't feel that they should be held accountable for it because, hey, I get a participation award anyway. It's sad. It really is. I wish that we lived in simpler times, and I think Tough put it the best that we're living now. Our leaders are from the hippie generation. And I'm sorry if that offends anyone, but it's true. And we're living by their thoughts and ideas and their beliefs. And that's what they believed. Everybody, no, that's not how it works. Work hard for what you got, you know, and take responsibility for the things you do. If you have a kid, put off buying that new video game to get your kid some clothes, or even feed your kid. That's one of the things so bad about the society. There's families out there that don't need it, that are on food stamps, welfare, whatever. And instead of using the money they make to put towards food, they put it towards stupid stuff. And believe it or not, one of my brothers is guilty of that. You know, he got food stamps and everything. What was he more worried about? Buying the latest, you know, the biggest and best TV, and, you know, all kinds of DVDs and gaming systems and all that, instead of actually buying food and clothes for his kid. You know, matter of fact, you know, I took more care of my nephew and niece than he ever did in his life. And that's sad because I was like 12 years old at the time. I used to get up because him and his girlfriend at the time were either hungover or high from the night before. So I would get up and go in, get my nephew and give him, you know, feed him and keep him occupied until they got up from their stupor. That's the main thing I'm talking about. Now, this is me letting you in on a little part of my life because, like I said, I was 12 at the time. I learned very early that you have to be responsible for that stuff. You can't just... And by me sitting there and listening to my nephew cry and not doing anything, you know, I'm just as responsible because, you know, I was able to do something about it, and I did. I took the responsibility, and I very well was the reason why that kid probably survived that time period of his life, because if not, you know, my mom was off working, my dad was off working, and they were laying there drunk and high, and, you know, someone needed to take care of their child. I took that responsibility, and I think I think that's why it sparks a fire in me and gets me riled up like it does when I see people that put material things over top of their children as much as it does, because I've seen the side effects to it. I mean there at one point in time in my life before I turned 18, I actually signed documents so if anything were to happen to my niece, I became guardian of her. Excuse me. Because, and it's sad that no one else in my family wanted to, but I did. I want to. If you know that she is not, and that's a whole nother topic which I don't want to get into, about responsibility. But she never did anything wrong. She never asked to be raised by irresponsible parents. She never asked for it. So I was willing to put my life aside and raise her kid if anything happened to my mother, because my mother got sole custody of her, and my mother, you know, had her medical problems, and it's just a typical thing where if something were to happen to the person getting guardianship, if something were to happen to her, there has to be someone in line to, you know, take care of these children. My sister took that responsibility for my nephew, but she didn't want anything to do with my niece, so I took it for my niece. That's asking something at a kid that I think I was like 15 or 16. I think I was 16. Yeah, because I just met the cutoff age, so that's a pretty big thing to ask of a 16-year-old, and I was willing to do it because I was brought up that you have to be responsible. I was lucky enough to be taught that growing up, and it's sad that a lot of kids aren't, you know, these days especially. My generation was one of the first generations that, you know, really did not take any sort of responsibility for their actions. I say it a lot, and I keep repeating it, and it's annoying the heck out of me. I'm sorry if it's annoying the heck out of you, but it's the only way I can really think to put, you know, to make it make sense to me, at least. So that's going to do it for today. I know it was really out there, and, you know, it was pretty much me doing a polite rant, there you go, about the topic, because it got brought up earlier today about somebody, and I went on a rant there. I was a little bit harsher with the words I said, but it's all true. It need to be said, so I said it, and I figured, hey, this is more important than talk, or I can speak better on this topic than I can the topic of friendship right now. So I figured I would. But anyway, that's going to do it for today, guys. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like down below. If you guys want to see more Let's Plays, Let's Talk, be sure to click subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.